Hello. Thank you for listening to this video on how to have a successful marriage. It is truly a wonderful thing when a man and a woman get married, start a family, raise children. It is a beautiful thing. It is the meaning of life. Getting married, raising children, experiencing that family love, that parental love, and the love of a good spouse brings us closer to God, closer to the Creator, closer to the universe, helps us grow mentally, spiritually, and just makes life worth living if it goes right. But unfortunately, so many young people don't get good advice before diving into marriage. They don't have a good example of their parents to draw from to see what marriage should be about. And they make the same mistakes, and the marriage ends up in divorce because of simple things that they didn't know going into the marriage. So if you would just sit down with your fiance or new spouse and talk about these things I'm going to tell you, hopefully you will have a successful, loving marriage, a family with children who live in a loving, caring household, and that you are an example for your kids so that when they one day get married, they have your example to live by. So the first thing young people need to know when getting married is that marriage is not a competition. Young couples fight so often because they're trying to be better than their spouse. Well, I want to be right more often. I want to make more decisions. I want you to do more work. I want to whatever. And they view themselves as competing with one another. And their egos get bruised, their feelings get hurt, and they fight and they argue and they separate. If you'd only stop and sit down and talk and realize that you are a team, you have the same goals, the same interests, the same things you want to happen in this marriage. You want to prosper, you want to have a nice place to live, a car to drive, jobs to go to. You want happy, healthy children that live in a happy home. And you want that person to support you in everything you do, and you will in turn support them. So marriage is not a competition. It is not an adversarial relationship. You are on the same team. You should be fighting for each other, not fighting with each other. You should be listening to each other when you tell each other your needs, what you need from this relationship. And two people that love each other don't constantly criticize each other. Yes, marriage can be difficult at times when two people come together and live in the same place for the first time. You have different habits, different ideals. But instead of criticizing each other, you need to sit down and talk and say, hey honey, you do this thing and I don't think it's really fair for you to do that. Can we reach a compromise where you do something different? Maybe it's throwing clothes on the bathroom floor, or leaving dirty dishes all over the house. Whatever it is. Instead of criticizing each other and getting angry, to say, Time out. We need to talk about this thing and how to fix it, because I don't believe it's right. Because like I mentioned in the beginning, you're not adversarial. You're not competing with each other. You are on the same team. And if you were on a sports team, would you be constantly criticizing your fellow players? Or would you be trying to help them and say, hey, this is what you should do. Throw the ball over here, or be in this position. And you would want to help each other. And you would have that attitude that, hey, they're trying to help me, I'm trying to help them. They're not criticizing me, they're not putting me down, it's not personal. We're trying to reach the same goals. So if you can put aside your ego and let love dominate what you do, love for your spouse, then you won't have that adversarial type relationship where you're constantly fighting, and realize that you're on the same team. And with that said, you've got to understand that you are part of a team. You no longer are single. You no longer are just yourself. So you cannot be selfish in everything you do. You've got to be willing to compromise. You've got to be willing to admit that you're wrong and that the other person is right. You've got to be willing to make those choices that make life better for both of you. One person in a relationship cannot get their way all the time and expect it to be a happy, productive relationship. It just doesn't work. You cannot dominate the relationship. A relationship is a team, and you must come together, make decisions jointly, discuss them, and come to common ground instead of fighting about who's going to be right. And part of that is realizing that this marriage, this family, is bigger than just yourself. You can't just do what's best for you. You've got to do what's best for both of you. You got to do what's best for the family, for the kids. Life isn't about you. Life is about a much bigger purpose. Life is about helping and serving others and doing the Creator's will. Life is about connecting with the universe and your higher self. And one of the ways that couples can strengthen their bond is by learning to meditate together. If you both learn to meditate, learn that self-control, gain that inner peace, then your marriage is going to be so much better as well. Because when two people are in harmony and they are raising their kids together and their kids are happy, it is a wonderful and beautiful thing. It is something that you should fight to keep, not throw away. Don't take it lightly. It is important. It will affect the rest of your life and it will make it better. It makes life worth living to have someone. You should be your spouse's soft place to land. Because when the world is rough and the world throws us problems and difficulties, and you come home to that spouse, they should be your soft place to land. You should be a soft place that your spouse can rely on. They come home to you and you are there for them, you support them, you love them, you care for them. And it has to be mutual. You have to be there for each other, not just one side. And it is a wonderful, beautiful thing, and it makes life worth living to know that you come home and you have that person there waiting to give you a hug, give you a kiss. And it makes things so much better. So let your ego get put aside. Let your own selfishness get put aside. This is not a competition. This is a wonderful union of two people. But at the same time that you are one couple, you still need to have boundaries. You need to have a little bit of personal space, personal time, a little bit of alone time. Because you can't work on the marriage if you let yourself deteriorate. So having that alone time, giving each other that time to rebuild one's self is important to a relationship. You can't be together 24/7 and not expect to get on each other's nerves once in a while. That alone time is important, and those boundaries of respecting a person's individuality. You can't completely change someone to make them what you want them to be. You need to let them be who they are in some aspects. Every little tiny thing they do shouldn't bother you. You should respect their individuality if it's not detrimental to the relationship. So put your ego aside, respect the other person, and don't make a big deal about the little things. Does it really matter that they leave the toilet seat up or down? Does it really ruin the marriage? Something so simple? If it's down, put it up. If it's up, put it down. It doesn't matter. It's trivial. It's nothing. If you let these little tiny things bother you all the time, you're going to be constantly looking for things that bother you. And that is not building a sound relationship. You have to let your ego go and respect the individuality of the person you are married to. If there are things that bother you, sit down. Talk about them in a respectful manner. Don't criticize. Don't put the person down. Don't make threats. Say, hey, honey, this bothers me when you do this. Can we work some other way to make this happen? Because marriage is about compromise, and it is about coming together. It is about learning your own emotional self-control. It is about improving yourself, becoming less selfish, and supporting others more. It is about having kids, raising kids, teaching those kids by example, showing them what a loving, caring relationship should look like. It is about supporting your spouse and being there for them in good times and bad. When things go wrong, it's about being their soft place to land. And it is about coming together in a wonderful, loving, caring relationship where egos do not get bruised and individuals become one. So take the time to discuss these things, either before you get married or shortly after you get married. Hey, what are the things that bother you? What are the things that are important to you? How do we go forward together instead of being adversarial and in a competition? How do we work together on these things so that they don't become an issue that separates us? And how can we develop a trust? Because after love, the second most important thing in a marriage is trust. You should be able to trust your spouse to go away on a business trip and to not cheat on you or flirt with other people or get into debauchery and things they shouldn't be doing. Because if they can't trust you, you can't trust them. Trust is the basis of a strong relationship. And I've seen too many relationships where that trust is violated and they are never the same again. Because once trust is lost, it is the hardest thing in the world to get back. It is nearly impossible. So, constantly reaffirm your love for your spouse, your dedication. Tell them you love them. And be that person that they can trust. Yes, situations are going to happen. You're going to be in situations where things could get out of hand, but you should be strong enough, mentally, spiritually, and in your relationship, that it's not an issue. Oh, somebody hits on you. Oh, thanks, hi, yeah, but I'm married, sorry. And that should be a good thing, because you know that your spouse can trust you. When you get home, you said, hey, this person hit on me. I thought it was funny, and I showed them my wedding ring and told him I was married. And I just want you to know that nothing like that would ever happen, because you can trust me 100%. Because trust in a relationship is so, so important. And you can't just live constantly looking over your spouse's shoulder, trying to see what they're doing, who they're talking to. That is no way to have a relationship. So developing that trust, developing your own personal self-control so that you can be trustworthy is extremely important. And it will make you so much of a better person. It will make you feel better to realize that you have done nothing wrong. You get into a situation, it could have went sideways, and you did nothing wrong. And your spouse can trust you. It makes you feel better, it makes them feel better, and it strengthens that relationship. And the last thing is communication, as I've already mentioned, sitting down with your spouse. Don't let things fester, don't let things stay inside of you. Don't let them out with anger. But sit down with your spouse and say, hey, can we talk about this? This is my opinion. What is your opinion? And respect each other's opinion and come to some sort of compromise. Because if you let things boil up, then they're going to boil over. Communication is the key. Letting your spouse know how you feel. Hey, I don't like it when you do this. Or, hey, I really like it when you do this. Because compliments within the marriage, that positive feedback helps the marriage grow, helps the bond strengthen. Oh, you really like that? Thanks. I'll do it again sometime. Because if you're constantly critical of your spouse, you're going to only drive your spouse away. But if you give your spouse compliments when they are deserved, not just shallow, hollow, random ones that don't mean anything, but when the compliments are truly deserved, hey honey, that was a really great dinner. You did an awesome job. Thank you so much for taking the time to do that. It goes a long way in strengthening that relationship. Because we like to hear that we are doing good by our spouse. We like to hear that we are doing something they enjoy. And yes, that includes in the bedroom. If it's good, say it was good. If it wasn't good, hey honey, were you just not into that, or was there something I did wrong? Communication is the key to preventing little tiny issues from becoming giant ones. Talk about them before they become a bigger issue that you may not recover from. So hopefully these things will help you in your marriage, in your relationship. Because marriage is the most important thing for having a well-rounded, well-fulfilled, and growing life. A man and a woman raising children is God's plan, and it's God's design Two people of the same sex can not experience marriage in a way that a man and a woman can, contributing to the DNA of a child and raising that child. There's no equal, absolutely no equal, other than opposite sex marriage and children raising. So, since it's so important, take the time to figure out how to do it right. Watch this video again with your spouse. Check out some of my other videos on the secrets of living and how to meditate. And develop yourself into the kind of person you want to be, the kind of person your spouse wants you to be. And strengthen that relationship, because it is the most important thing in your life. And hopefully you will do it right. Thank you for listening.